There are single moments in games that can win or lose them. A strange bounce, a kick at the end of the quarter, or a big bump can all elevate and deflate your team. These are the more obvious things that can swing momentum within games. But what about the stranger decisions that are made before the game starts? Even something as simple as a coin toss, targeting a player, or talking trash are all little incidents that in hindsight can look like bad errors. So if you are ever in these positions, don't make these mistakes. 9 in a row. It's the number of wins Richmond piled up down the stretch in 2014 to make finals. The last of those wins came in round 23 at the SCG against the first place Sydney Swans. It was a remarkable turnaround in itself, going from 3-10 to 12-10. Their elimination final opponent was Port Adelaide, who won 14 games but went down the final 2 months with 4 wins and 4 losses to split their last 8 games. The newly renovated Adelaide Oval had a packed out crowd in the stadium, but the major moment to concentrate on was just before the final bounce. It was reported on the day that to the right of the screen a significant breeze was going that way. To the left, you would have been kicking into that wind. Fortune went the Tigers' way and they won the toss. Notice anything? Cochin pointed to the left, meaning Richmond would kick into the swirling wind to start the game. Combine that decision with the hostile environment and never tear us apart blaring over the field, and it was a disaster start for the Tigers.
Beats the man, icing on the cake, second goal. Got free, West off at his second, kicks into an oncoming Tiger, opportunity down in the pocket for White, it's close, I think it's good. It's an avalanche.
Chapman's under pressure. Warrens, Chapman didn't keep his feet. Warrens goals, they've got 6. Not 1, not 2, 3, 4, 5, they've got 6.
The commentators mentioned the win throughout the quarter, and it was a strange decision to kick against it. At the end of the first term, it was 49-7. It was Port Adelaide's best opening quarter in finals history. With a couple minutes left in the half, the margin had ballooned out to 69 points. With the Power taking it easy in the last, and with help from that wind, the Tigers did kick 5 goals in the final quarter to hold the margin at 57 points. Cochin on Mad Monday was asked about his decision when he won the toss, and he believed the win wasn't that much of a factor.
I don't regret it. I think it was more about the way we played in the first quarter, not so much the wind. It was very swirly out on the ground. I know that people are saying that the flags were blowing a certain way outside of the stadium, but the reality is it was swirly. I didn't feel there was a real advantage. I spoke to a few of our forwards. We discussed it as we do every game, and that was the decision we came to. So we won the toss, we decided to go that way, and who knows.
Maybe it was a swirly wind and it wasn't that big of a deal, but if Cochin had another chance, I think he would have pointed at the other end of the ground. Still, I think he sleeps well at night, being a 3-time premiership captain. This mistake helped Richmond quite a lot. He probably didn't know it at the time, but in round 1 2017, Dustin Martin would be poked fun at by Carlton, specifically by the banner. Maybe it helped him produce one of the greatest individual seasons we have ever seen. It was strange that the Blues banner makers took a shot so early in the year, especially as they had finished 14th in 2016 with just 7 wins. The Tigers were not much better, so the round 1 matchup had some importance in each club's direction that year. The cameras picked up on it when the Blues team ran out onto the MCG. In big bold letters, the banner squad had come up with, "Richmond's 5-year plan has become a disaster, the vision impaired like Dusty's barber." It's a pretty brutal shot at the Tigers and Dusty, but it was clever. Too bad in hindsight, it looks like a horrific idea, as the night encapsulated the past of both teams in 2017 and onwards. In the round 1 game itself, Richmond controlled proceedings. A 45-27 start put them well in control. The Richmond chaotic style of play was first presented on that night, and it was foreshadowing what was to come over the next few seasons. A late third quarter roll got Carlton within 4 goals, but it was put to bed early and in a high-scoring game, Richmond came out on top 132 to 89. Martin was a star at this stage, but he would get his first 3 votes of the year, on his way to gathering 36 and a Brownlow medal.
That'll give back again. Martin goes searching. It's a long ball. It's at the punt road end. It's good. Martin again. Can he add to the tally? That is just something special. It's brilliant. It is so good.
Has he elevated himself to that? Off tonight alone.
If you're going on tonight,
Absolutely.
have over 30 and kick 4, then you're in the absolute top echelon of midfielders.
At the end of the season, Carlton finished 16th, a win ahead of the last place Lions, while Richmond finished 3rd. The Tigers streaked into finals and stormed their way to a grand final win, the first of 3 in 4 years. To compare the clubs, it was last season that Carlton finally made finals for the first time since 2013. Going back to that night, in 2017, it was revealed the Blues actually hired a PR company to write the banner, which is weird in itself. The club came under fire for it, and it compounded onto the poor start to the season and the overall pressure that was intensifying around Carlton. The Western Bulldogs have endured a couple frustrating seasons. A big media focus on them has been the rate at which they give up 4, 5 or 6 goal runs to their opposition. It began in the 2021 Grand Final against Melbourne. That was a run of 100 to 9, but after struggling in 2022 but crawling into finals thanks to Collingwood's miraculous last quarter comeback against Carlton, the Bulldogs found themselves in a good position, flying over west to face a young Fremantle side in an elimination final. They were without Tom Liberatore, but it didn't stop them early on. They blew away the Dockers in the first 30 or so minutes and were up 42 to 1. This is when things changed. Fremantle began to gain a little momentum and Jai Amos out-tussled Zane Cordy to take a clever mark. From an unmissable spot, he missed, clunking the right goalpost. Maybe it was the Bulldogs' night. They continued on to gain control in the final, and a switch of play across the ground led to Jordan Clark hitting Walters on the lead. Cordy slightly bumped him, and Amos came over to remonstrate.
Smart kick because Western Bulldogs had spare players in the middle of the oval.
Walters very smart. Walters misses again.
Walters missed, but did you see what Cordy did? His little point up to the scoreboard would come back to bite the Dogs big time. From this stage in the game onwards, it would be a slow collapse. 4 Freo goals before halftime officially made it a new game. 3 of the next 4 had it exactly a 1-goal margin early in the last quarter, and a scuffle out of bounds distracted too many Bulldog players. From this play, Amos once again had the ball in his hands, and this time he didn't miss. A goal from the boundary line kicked by Nathan O'Driscoll closed it out, and it was an iconic Fremantle finals win. They looked buried and out, but rose up to move on. On the other side, it caused more questions around the Dogs and their coach. Cordy copped some heat for his act, and although it was a commanding lead at the time, it was only halfway through the second quarter with plenty of the game to be played, and it ended up with Fremantle playing it much better.